Microsoft is launching a new alternative intelligence moderation service tool that will scan text and images to detect inappropriate content. Microsoft says the tool, named Azure AI Content Safety, is the company's response to, quote, harmful content appearing in online communities. According to TechCrunch, the AI, which can understand text in English, Spanish, German, French, Japanese, Portuguese, Italian, and Chinese, will assign a severity score to flagged content, indicating to moderators which content requires action. That sounds sinister to me. I'm so afraid now of everything that is targeting misinformation, because this entire concept has been so weaponized against free speech. It has been weaponized against content that is not misinformation, to create a whole idea that we're overrun by foreign influence, all of that. Now, the question really is an AI, is some kind of algorithm or some kind of tech mechanism better at detecting this kind of thing than human beings? Because a lot of the human moderation is very prone to error and bias. This is, the whole story that kind of the Twitter files uncovered with laptop stuff and all that people were prone to these. People have agendas. They consider, well, what do I think? What hurts the company? What kind of pressure we're facing? And could it be that an AI doesn't have these same pressures and is doing things more fairly, or is genuinely identifying actually harmful content?
Yeah, that's
the question.
That is the question. And one thing that's been very frustrating to me about the whole arc of Elon's stewardship of Twitter was that one of the things we were promised was a lot more transparency with algorithmic choices as well. And as important as the Twitter files are, the overwhelming majority of content moderation decisions, overwhelming majority, like 70, 80, 90% plus of content moderation decisions are being made algorithmically. When we talk about Facebook, there were all of the stories years ago about whether Facebook and YouTube are pushing kids down various kind of right-wing rabbit holes. The narrative was not there's someone there saying to your kid, go watch right-wing content. It was that the algorithm was privileging controversial content, and it had this kind of effect. So the fact that we still know so little about the algorithmic decisions, when I interviewed Matt Taibbi a couple weeks ago on my podcast, I asked him about what we know about the algorithmic programming, and he said that that wasn't something that he had much access to or had any insight into.
My understanding is that algorithms generally, they'll flag things, and then if there's an appeal of a moderation decision, it's a human being looks at it. So the first line is often is tech generated. Sure,
but how many of us have or are still waiting for a human response to content sites of ours that have been flagged? In the Elon Musk era, regrettably, because of some of the massive cuts to the staff, very famously, folks are getting poop emojis, et cetera, in response to efforts to appeal these kind of decisions. So depending on who you are, and if you were the one that was victimized by these algorithmic choices, there is very little in the way of recourse for you on at least Twitter as a website at this point. So I would like to see much more transparency in this context from Microsoft than we've seen in other social media contexts like the ones we've just described at the very least. And it's also worth interrogating what harmful content means in the first instance. It is the case that a lot of the content sweeping is for things like pornography. There are probably keywords that we could all kind of agree should not be on the app, but that's a very narrow band of content. It was recently made. I was recently made aware.
Twitter does allow pornography.
Yeah, I was going to say I was recently made aware that apparently that's the new preferred place for a lot of people to look at pornography because they feel as though you're not risking getting pop-ups or like downloads or spyware the way if you go to an actual pornography site. And I don't know how they keep those channels different, because I never see pornography just come up on Twitter. But I've been made aware.
Have you ever clicked on an ambiguous trending topic? That's the most likely way for pornography to enter in.
Yeah, but I would be much less skeptical or much less worried if they said that harmful content was those kind of things, the things that upset advertisers, as opposed to political choices. I'm very concerned about how much people are increasingly accepting the open politicization of these websites. I think a lot of conservatives were on the right track when they were concerned about the weaponization of politics at Twitter, the influence of the intelligence agencies on the Twitter decisions. But the response seems to be now turnabout is fair play, and that we should all race to further politicize what should be neutral forums for the public to convene in. And that's an arms race that I'm not sure the public wins from, even if various political camps or two corporate parties continue to benefit from controlling these spaces.
Right. I'm very worried about developing tools that will be used or influenced or pushed by powerful people in media and government. This sounds like theoretically it could be one of them. The ability to shape the dialogue based on this idea that we're flooded with false information, and who gets to decide what's false information? Well, they do. Oh, look, we have this tool. It's neutral. It's the tech is doing it. We're not doing it. It's the tech. There's a way you can almost outsource your responsibility if you put it all in the tech.
Well, in this case,
there will always be algorithms making algorithms, or how social media works. I mean, they're trying to curate a feed for you based on your interests and what they think is relevant for you and what you want to see.
Well, it used to be that it wasn't trying to curate a feed for you. It used to be that you followed people, at least on Twitter, that you followed people on Twitter, and the people that you followed's tweets appeared for you in chronological order.
Yeah, I found that unusable.
Plus opting into various topics when you first signed into the site, and that you could tweet that for yourself. And many people have said that part of why they find the user experience on Twitter to be less good is because they no longer see tweets from the people they've chosen to follow, and instead have other kinds of content privileged for them. And Elon Musk has said that's something that he has worked to do, that he felt like the algorithm
was recommending too liberal
liberals,
content,
so he says I'm going to put more conservative content. Right. And putting your finger on the scale, whoever you are, is a very dangerous game, because who's to say we're basically giving up on the idea of any kind of objectivity here in the least.
But there's a kind of flawed notion of thinking that it's objective if you're seeing liberal content, now you're seeing conservative content, because
I didn't say it was objective when it was liberal content.
No. I mean, even if you're getting an equal mix of liberal and conservative content. I'm not a liberal or a conservative.
Right.
You're not either. How's that? This is faux neutrality, faux moderation.
It's like saying, we have to have, scientist.
For every Matt Walsh tweet, we need a Jen Rubin column to come my way.
There's
thank you.
0.5% of scientists in the world don't believe in global warming. It's like saying, well, I'm having people talking about climate change in my feed, so I have to have 50% of my feed also with climate deniers. Like, that's. Mm-hmm. I mean, should you ban the people who don't believe in climate change? No, but that's a very different thing, and I would protect their right to be able to say what they want to say. But that's a very different thing from saying we have to create an unrealistic perception of how popular certain kinds of beliefs are in order to have equality on the app.
Well, we'll have more Rising right after this. Stay tuned.